Hello, Manu. It's very nice that you're back. I missed you. I think Sira also. So it's cool and it's very nice to hear what you have to say. Also, I like very much this idea of audio maps and how through sound that you can produce a space which is imaginary but nevertheless not concrete, because I mean, we worked on these things before with for example, like these more cinematic things, so Out of Order or Why We Love Action. And I think that it's important, so what you explain about this, like a cracker that then reminds you of a space but that's already actually or footsteps in a space or of a surface that you don't know, that's something that is already fictional, or it's already something that your mind produces with a sound source that is not actually concrete. This idea, I think, is very interesting because it gives the possibility of filling in, or how imagination is necessary in order to produce sense or meaning out of the sounds that you hear. So this I thought this is a quite interesting idea. I also think that the idea of the surfaces and the actual physical surfaces and how they influence us, this is also an interesting idea. However, I don't know, I mean, that's difficult to maybe do something about, but I don't know if you know, but when you're in playgrounds or in these running arenas, the ground is soft, just slightly softer, but it's still not, you don't sink into it, but it's just that there is a little bit of rebound, so that if you fall, you don't actually hurt yourself or your knees are, a little bit protected or whatever. And I thought there's something about this. I had an idea long ago that we should have a floor out of styrofoam. So, this white, what you normally pack stuff in, which kind of would, sink down. So when you walk in it, it would actually sink down as we would walk, which would make a sound in itself also, and at the same time make some sort of snow landscape. But I think it's not necessarily very good, but I think it's interesting. In relation to this question about what we are doing, why are we in these spaces, what do these spaces do to us, this is of course always a problem. And I have to say, I tried, not too much, I tried a little bit the map of Aitan, but it's difficult for me. Like I was thinking the other day, it's funny how, because we're in different spaces, different things make sense to us physically. So what for me I somehow have developed an understanding of, maybe Sira and you have not. Like we are not in the same physical space, so we don't actually develop the same material understandings of things, which on one hand is strange, but it's also, of course, what is very exciting about what we're doing now. So this kind of divergence that we all start to have different ideas about how it could actually exist materially, because that's the big thing. And we get influenced by each other's talking, but I still don't find a way to really integrate. So I don't know what to do about this, because the last week I have been working more on this idea of mind maps or memory spaces, or how somehow thinking about space. So what I somehow, I made this list also some videos ago, where I kind of try to name very, very many different types of spaces. So private spaces, from bedrooms, toilets, phone cabins, and so on, to more public spaces, or great alleys, or big monumental buildings, or whatever. So I wrote down, I think, like 100 now. I wrote down 100 different types of spaces, and I kind of started working on a score, and I have to say I'm a little bit excited about this, but so I don't know, but on a score where the idea would be that there is a list of types of spaces. So it could be a staircase, airplane, bedroom, whatever. So a long list of spaces that are generic, that exists in our everyday. And then there would be an idea about making a specific application. So each of us, if we would do this, each of us would remember one specific memory that you have in relation to these spaces. So that's a little bit to avoid this, like, imagine now that you're on the moon and then do something, you know, because that doesn't really produce so much imagination. But for me, I started now working on this, that I actually, so I imagine the bedroom in the house where I grew up, where I know exactly where everything is. And this for me produces some sort of kinesthetic or tactile information in the body that I then can use. And it's not that I actually represent, or here's the table, or here's this, or here's that, but I'm somehow in a space which produces concrete information in my body. So for me, that's a little bit away, maybe what for you, Mano, the sound, what you have found with the sound, like that it produces something actual within our movements. And what I also find interesting is like, so for example, if I say phone cabin, and then all of us have to think of an actual situation in our life, or so a memory of a phone cabin, then what kind of imaginations comes out is maybe phone cabin is not the best, but maybe then actually you think about a conversation you had in a phone cabin, and so all of a sudden you're in a space where your subjective or your mind is completely implied inside the thing, even though what you do doesn't represent your thoughts. So I have to say, this thing I find very exciting for the moment. And it's not really representational, because if I'm doing this principle of moving at the same time, or so there's always two parallel layers happening, which means that it's not about theatricalizing or expressing your thoughts, but somehow about letting them influence your movement. So I don't know if you think this is interesting, but I'm kind of very interested in this. And then I thought, now in relation to this audio maps, maybe the audio map could also be connected to this, so that we say airport, and then each one of us produces a sound that for us is connected to airport, but not necessarily representational of an airport. So I don't know what that could be, but maybe it's exactly eating a cracker in a room where there's a lot of echo, because airports are always kind of large spaces that resonates in a certain way. I don't know. So this is what I'm thinking about, and yeah, I think this is maybe a direction in relation to this zoom idea, zooming in, zooming out. I think what you describe is exactly what I imagined when I thought of this. Exactly, that when we are far away, there is a kind of generality, so the figures become impersonal, or they have this kind of you see them on a distance, and they are not expressing, or they are not producing subjectivity, so that you don't see what is behind the figure. And when you're in the close-up, then you're really in the space of the I would say also maybe face, like the face, the fingers, like the kind of differentiation where all of a sudden you see. And I think we can actually work on this directly, even working with the face and the fingers and the detail of the expression. Okay, now I should stop, else it gets too long. Maybe we try later today. I'm not home, so I don't know if I can later again, but now I post this one. Till soon, bye bye.